This video is going to be about the concrete tools that I use on a job. And I'm going to start out with the trowels first and then go to other things. We basically got three types of trowels. We just got a float, that comes in different sizes. Got a swimming pool finishing trowel, a regular finishing trowel, and when I get done with them I use them for plastering. These are some of the finishing tools I use when I want to rough finish something with concrete. Now, back in the old days, when concrete first started coming out, all the sidewalks in our town was made out of stone. So when you came in and you started putting concrete, they wanted that sidewalk basically to look like stone. So you would give them a float finish, which I call it. Broom finish didn't come till years later. If you did a broom finish back in the old days for the old people, they wouldn't go for that. That was considered cheap. So what you do is you go in and you make that pad, each pad look like stone sidewalk so everything can match. So usually after you bull float it, I would use my bigger float and I'd go over it and that'd catch all the high spots. And then the old timers would make everything out of wood. The old timers made their old tools. And I still see once in a while some old timers still using them. This is the regular float I use. It's an aluminum float and magnesium they call it. This is a new swimming pool type. But the old time, when they did start doing concrete with a rough finish, they would use a regular household broom. That's why they call it a broom finish. And then they had to come up with something real fancy. And now that's what they call the official broom finish, which they make stuff up as they go. But when you do a rough finish in Pennsylvania where I live, you usually float finish, or anymore you can broom finish it. But you don't make a smooth finish on an outside sidewalk. Now last time we looked at a float. A float is kind of thick and it's kind of rounded and it leaves like a rough finish. But these tools right here are for a smooth finish, and these are really, really thin. You see them? Now, the old days, they were all square. They're all square like that. And what happened was they came out with what they call a swimming pool trowel with a rounded edge. So when you're smooth finishing it, real fine smooth finish, it's not leaving the lines like the old trowels did. So what we used to do is just grind the ends down a little bit so we'll leave a sharp mark. So as you're going, you're smooth finishing the concrete, and a lot of times you got to get into nooks and crannies where that trowel will fit. So you just get some regular trowels like this or slickers, and you can get in there and shine it up a little bit to make it work. But these are called finishing trowels, and they're for like cellar floors or something real smooth. Now in Pennsylvania we don't put smooth finishes outside because it'll be slippery with the snow and the ice and the rain. We put a rough finish, which would be with a float. But usually inside porches, and even porches put rough finishes because the snow gets up on the porches. But these are for like doing garages and things like that. Now what this is what they call a bull float. And in the old days they make them out of wood. And as I was at the World of Concrete show, and there's companies that still make them out of wood. But now you just put the handles on, just like that. And once you actually screed your concrete, you just kind of go over it and flatten it out. And this part here is adjustable. One time they made everything out of wood. See, you could adjust the handle up and down as you want it. That's what you call a bull float. I just dug out all the edgers I got laying around. And when I use an edger to edge concrete, you could see these on the videos when I'm edging concrete. I try to buy, when I go to buy one, I buy at least 2 or 3 of the same type. But there's different edgers, and this is like a little metal one. I use this at certain times. This is an old timer, and it's a deep one if I have to match that. That's an old timer and it's a small one. This is an old timer. It's got like more of a bevel on it for concrete. And these right here, I call them dividers. This is all worn out. This is a divider. This is the one I usually use. I have 2 of them. One's a little deeper for the first time I go through, and then I have one that isn't as deep for the second time I go through. But in my area in Pennsylvania, the reason I'm doing this all right now, it's 0 degrees outside. That's a picture of our weather. But when I do concrete in our area, you see me divide it up a lot. And I use these dividers because what happens is the winter comes and it freezes, and just like you put ice cubes, it pushes all these sidewalks up. And if you get big pads, it's going to bust it up. You always see me putting gravel underneath it so the water will get out from underneath it. Or if I can't do that, I use modified. This is a different type of tool. This is the old timers used these when they started doing concrete a lot. I still see them used. This one's an old roller one. I don't ever use them, and I don't use a lot of stamped concrete because in our area the water lays on top of that in the winter time, and they be throwing salt and everything on it. It freezes and it's slippery, so you have to know what you're doing. I always put a good tilt on my concrete to get rid of the water, and I put it in short areas. I don't even like to do driveways anymore. I'd rather do blacktop. I'm getting rid of half of these tools. I'm winding down in life, and I'm going to give half of them away and just keep what I need. And right here is my concrete vibrator, which is probably as old as the Civil War. A concrete tamper. When you're doing a garage floor like this, you tamp it pushes the rocks down, and it brings all the juice up. I also have a couple old trawling machines, but if I needed extra, I would rent them. Now, this is one of the old machines, but this right here, this dial, this turns the blades up or down. So if you want to make it real sharp, you turn the blades up, you throttle, and that's it. That's basically all they are. All they are is a trawling machine. This is when I was at the World of Concrete show down in Las Vegas. We were looking at all the machines they had. So what I showed you mostly was the basic tools that I use. And if I needed different type of tools, I would rent them. I don't keep any forms or screeds that are made out of metal or anything because they rust, the dump truck runs over them, people borrow them, they get bent. It's not worth it. I just go down and buy some new wood and I form it and I'm good. In our area, we have to make our sidewalks and everything smaller because the frost heaves everything up. If we had big pours, it'd crack. It's different if you live in Florida. It's different if you live in California. Everywhere you work and you do concrete, it's different. If you go across our bridges, it looks like in Pennsylvania, it looks like it's all potholed. And the joke is, if you want to avoid the potholes in Pennsylvania, drive in New Jersey. Because our weather is atrocious. And they come and they throw the salt on them and they just bust them up in the winter. There's nothing you can do about it. It's not their fault. It's just our weather. I know if I do concrete jobs, they might last 35 years. That's pretty good. 25 years and they're falling apart already. And I'm going to do a video on that. Now the old timers, they made their own tools. So don't let anybody tell you, oh, you have to have a certain tool for this or a certain tool for that. There's no such thing. They made their own tools. They made their own forms. You look in the old time bridges, how they formed all the sidewalks and everything. They made it look like stone. So that's it. I was at that World of Concrete, and they have every kind of tool in the world you can imagine. They have people from all over the world. You could buy and you could use any tool you want. I like to keep it simple. If I need anything more than what I got, then I rent it. So thanks for watching. I'm Mike Haduck. Until next time.